Good morning. So my chosen topic for this presentation is on multicultural orientation counseling of counseling in the United States. Um, and cultural recognition, understanding, and honoring should be an integrated um, foundational fabric in counseling relationships, where the healing vision encompasses equity and respect for all parts within our humanity. This is true in therapeutic engagement with all populations, and even more critically important for working with people who are historically underrepresented or falsely represented in the United States. These populations tend to have suffered individual or generational trauma, which cause psychic, mental, and physical harm due to the systemic injustice. Gabriela Mayer is a winner of the 2021 Future Leaders in Policy competition of the Rockefeller Foundation. In their published study titled Understanding and Addressing the Challenges Faced by LGBTQ and People of Color in Accessing Mental Health Care, they stated that since mental health field is predominantly white, most service providers don't already share the lived experiences that Black people and people of color might express. So if we look at the demographics published by APA in 2021, and they did studies in a few, they collected data in a few categories, but if I look at the race slash ethnicity alone category alone, the psychologists who are white in the United States, practicing in the United States, occupy 80.85%. And if we look at and Black slash African American occupy 5.08, Asian American occupied 3.28, and American Indian and Alaska Native occupy only 0.13. So we can see that there is a huge gap of difference between the different ethnic slash racial groups practicing as psychologists slash counselors. The gap expressed here potentially tell that, okay, so 4 times more white Caucasians than any other groups combined in this country either can have easier access to the higher education, becoming a licensed psychologist slash counselor, and or this population in particular see more value in entering into the counseling professions than any other group. And the question I ask is why? And that will be my continuous exploration in my study. And when I did a general research on multiculturalism and counseling, I find an article under the website at Marquette University in Wisconsin, and it states that, quote, holistic mental health services focus on older, non-Western wellness practices, which can help its appeal to groups historically marginalized by contemporary mental health care as it becomes more mainstream. When I read that, even though there's some truth in that, I find there's some truth in that. I find this branding multiculturalism under quote holistic mental health care unquote feels really unsatisfying to me. Um, I feel that working with multicultural populations from conventional Western counseling methodologies with a limited and constrained multicultural exploration is not only superficial, the result can also feel burdensome and perhaps even create more harm and distrust between clients and the mental health care providers, as well as the systems these providers work under. If I look at some quotes under, again, Gabriela Mayer's study, I want to read one quote here. They said that many advocates call for a full removal of these terms, such as gender identity disorder, transvestic disorder, gender dysphoria from the DSM, believing that viewing transgender identities or non-gender conforming expression as a disease leads to discrimination and abuse. The label of mentally ill can be used to invalidate individuals' lived experience and has been used to justify discrimination in hiring, child custody cases, and housing. So this is, going back to the fact that DSM really reflects a very narrow kind of view. It was established out of a Eurocentric, um, perhaps heterosexual oriented, and male dominant. It was established under this cultural norm. So when I did researches on multiculturalism and counseling, I came across this beautiful article titled "When Pipe Rituals Helps More Than Talk Therapy" at the Harvard Gazette. And it's quoting Professor Joseph Gone, who is the head of the Global Health and Social Medicine at Harvard. He said that we need to take seriously the indigenous claim I hear everywhere I go in Indian country that our culture is our treatment. People often say we don't need the latest evidence-based practice or the latest, greatest intervention that have come out of academia. We just need to go back to our traditions. We have our own healing ways. If we can just recapture and recover them, that will solve our problems. I look into another ancient culture for reflection. And that is a short documentary on BBC published in October this year titled "This is Not Black Magic, the Real Voodoo in New Orleans." Um, Vodou originally came from Haiti. It was an organic way of experiencing the nature Haitians were surrounded by and of honoring the ancestral relationships they felt deeply in connection with. When they traveled to New Orleans with the enslaved population, Vodou adapted itself to blend in with Catholic mythologies and hid behind Catholic symbols so that Haitians could practice their original way of life without being punished harshly in New Orleans. In an interview with Ashe, a voodoo high priestess in New Orleans, she said this. I'm going to quote her, and I find this very moving. In her original voice, she stated, "As an African American, it's essential that I'm connected to my ancestors because when things get hard for me now, I know what my ancestors were able to live through. So I always feel this force field around me that what I get from practicing voodoo is I'm cared for, I'm loved, and feeling tangibly the fact that I'm not alone. It's not just an idea anymore." So there are some wonderful guidelines. In particular, the one that I resonate with is published by APA in 2017 under the subtitle "An Ecological Approach to Context, Identity, and Intersectionality." When I read through all the guidelines, guideline number 567 particularly jumped out at me. And in particular, guideline 7, psychologists endeavor to examine the profession's assumptions and practices within an international context, whether domestically or internationally based, and consider how this globalization has an impact on the psychologist's self-definition, purpose, role, and function. And another guideline in multicultural counseling I really resonate with is published by ACA, American Counseling Association, in 2016. And the conceptual framework is based out of the core belief that multiculturalism and social justice should be at the center of all counseling. And a few really helpful new terminologies and concepts are introduced here. Implications for clinical counselors. So I was curious, and I wonder if I started doing some research search, wondering if there is any counseling program that's established with multiculturalism as the very foundation of their teaching for like underneath the entire program. And this is what I came across. There was a Master of Art in Indigenous Communities Counseling Psychology program at University of Victoria in Canada. I read through the whole curriculum and philosophy, very well thought out. However, on their website, they posted that, quote, unfortunately, the program is postponed indefinitely due to insufficient staffing and resources. And then there is a continuously running program, master's and PhD in depth psychology with specialization in community liberation, indigenous and eco psychologies at the Pacifica Graduate Institute in Santa Barbara. And however, this is not a licensure program. I think to become truly closer to clients' experiences in this multicultural society, it's really important for counselors to spend a lot of time for self-study and cultural studies outside of office contact hours. I would say research, talking to people through genuine and respectful curiosity when the opportunity presents themselves. And volunteering, these can be wonderful opportunity. And finally, to wrap up my presentation, I'd like to read a poem by Rumi, translated by Coleman Barks. It's titled The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Thank you very much for listening and viewing this presentation.